Good evening, everyone. Wekiva High School welcomes you to Mustang Arena for the last week of Season 18. And we welcome our guests from Ridge Community. They are the Bolts. And they'll be taking on your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Before we begin our game this evening, we ask that you please stand as we honor America with the presentation of colors by the Wekiva High School Air Force Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps program. Tonight's detail is under the command of Cadet Senior Airman Diablo Fleming, carrying the U.S. flag. Carrying the Air Force flag is Cadet Senior Airman Angelis Rivera. The Rifle Guards are Cadet Technical Sergeant Dallin Schell and Danielle Walker. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. And now, let's meet the teams. We'll begin with our guests from Ridge Community, and we'll start for the Bolts at shooting guard with 6'1" junior, number 1, Kimari Coates. At point guard, 6' junior, number 5, Elijah Lewis. At center, 6'8" senior, number 14, Eugene Daniels. At small forward, 6'3" senior, number 30, Zach White. And finally for Ridge, at small forward, 6'7" senior, number 44, Tariq Kennedy. The head coach of the Bolts is Don Skipper, with assistants Felicia Holiday and Richard Victor. And now, let's meet the starting lineup for your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Starting for Wekiva at guard, 6'4" sophomore, number 21, Kenneth Hughes. At guard, sophomore, number 23, Caden Cheetles. Sorry. Correction on that. Starting for the Mustangs is number 25, Eric Nichols. Next up for the Mustangs, at point guard, 6' junior, number 10, Lufen St. Pierre. At wing, 6'4", junior, number 11, Jason Francelin. And finally for the Mustangs, at guard, senior and the class of 2025, number 4, Juju Jansen. The head coach of the Mustangs, Justina Lumen. The officials for tonight's game are from the Central Florida Officials Association here in Orlando. We thank them for their dedicated service to our high school athletic programs and join them along with our participating schools, reminding everyone to make great sportsmanship a part of this in every athletic competition. And we want to welcome those of you who have tuned in on our webcasts on YouTube or the NFHS network. Welcome to Mustang Arena. The officials, unsurprisingly, wasting no time getting tonight's game underway. We are starting about half an hour late. Part of that is because Ridge was delayed in getting here. That was not their fault. They did not get their buses until about 5:30. And then if you've ever tried making a rush hour commute from Polk County to Orange County, you know exactly what that's like. Eugene Daniels puts the Bolts on the board. And then, of course, we had our senior night festivities recognizing Juju Johnson. If you missed that, we have that on a separate live stream for you. That's on our YouTube channel, Wekiva Sports, and on the NFHS network. You can get back to that anytime if you want to watch that with an on-demand replay. Mustangs have a bit of a rough start to the season. They're 10-13 overall, but they are currently riding a 6-2 streak since coming out of the Metro tournament. So the Mustangs hoping they're peaking at the right time, but not a good start to this game. Foul is called against Mustangs, number 25, Eric Nichols. That's his first, the team's first. The basket, scored by Kamari Coates, is good. He's at the line shooting for the three-point play. So 4 unanswered points for Ridge to open up tonight's game, possibly 5, but will not. And so Kenny DeJuice comes down with the rebound. My name is Mark Pargy, the voice of the Mustangs and sports information director here at Wekiva High School, joining you for tonight's broadcast as well as tomorrow night's. Of course, senior night is traditionally held on the last home game of the regular season. However, sometimes it is adjusted slightly, of course, to meet with the scheduling availability of the family and friends who want to be here to support the honorees. And so things worked out better for it to be tonight. So we will actually have one more home game to cap off season 18, and that will be tomorrow evening. We'll be broadcasting that one as well. Eugene Daniels on the pass from Kamari Coates. So now 4 points for Daniels, 2 and an assist for Coates. And there's your offensive production for the night so far. The Mustangs, 2 minutes into this game, still looking to get on the scoreboard. To the corner, wide open, Eric Nichols rims out. And now the Bolts will get a chance to make it 4 unanswered field goals. Again, Wekiva having a bit of an up and down season. You may have heard us mention during the starting lineups that Juju Johnson is not just a senior, he is the senior. There is only one member of the class of 2025 on the varsity roster of Wekiva, and it is Juju. He is a 4-year member of the Mustang program, a thoroughbred Mustang as we call them. Foul is called against Bolts, number 30, Zach White, his first, the team's first. So a young team, although as you heard, if you listened to the senior night festivities, Juju Johnson was here for the state Final Four appearance by the men's basketball team not so very long ago. So he remembers that and would love to repeat it as we get Jason Francelin puts the Mustangs on the board. So Wekiva breaks the dry spell just about 3 minutes into the first quarter. It's been a fast first quarter, not a whole ton of stoppages, just the one shooting foul. Second chance basket scored by Eugene Daniels. And if, like me, you are relatively unfamiliar with the Ridge basketball program, Eugene Daniels has showed you just about all you need to know. Block is called against Tariq Kennedy. That's his first personal foul, the team's second. Checking into the game for the Mustangs, number 0, Holiday. Darius Holiday making his first appearance in the game. Clearly, though, Eugene Daniels is the scoring threat for Ridge. Kamari Coates seems to be the other most significant threat from an offensive stats perspective. Again, he has a field goal that nearly became a three-point play as well as an assist. Quick little spin move there from Holiday, not going to fall. Mustangs getting some looks, but so far the Ridge defense doing a good job of forcing Wekiva to take low percentage shots. Good action there from Holiday, got all ball from behind. Blocks the shot out of bounds, it'll stay with Ridge, and we are at 4:21 to go here in the first quarter. And now we're going to get some substitutions. Mustangs will send in Darian Thomas and Markel Anderson. The tray does not fall for Tariq Kennedy. Anderson getting double teamed, trapped in the backcourt, needs some help. He's going to get called for a 10 count, but Elijah Lewis is called for 2 hands. That'll be his first personal foul, the team's third. So Ridge did everything right there, almost forcing the turnover until Lewis put 2 hands on at the same time, and now Ridge going to try to do the same trick again. This time the Mustangs, though, are smarter than that. They'll leave 2 in the backcourt, so they got an escape route. Anderson swings out to Johnson. Nothing there. Back to the top of the arc. Francellin thought about it, thought better of it, tries to dribble in, nearly gets taken away from him, and gets called for traveling. Bolts ball. 3:44 to go in the first period. Checking into the game for the Mustangs, number 23, Caden Jean Lewis. So now Caden Jean Lewis is in the game. I accidentally called him as a starter because I had the dot on the wrong line of the score sheet. Tariq Kennedy gets the basket and a chance to make it a three-point play. The foul is called against Mustangs number 0, Darius Holiday, his first, and the team's second. So Wekiva has just 2 fouls. Both of them are three-point play opportunities, though. First one did not convert. Kennedy will convert his, though. And just like that, it's an 11-2 ball game. Once again, there's that double team trap coming in the backcourt, and again, it's going to be a foul. Hold is called against Elijah Lewis. That's his second personal foul, the team's 4th. Bryce Dees is into the game for the Mustangs. So Elijah Lewis, in as many possessions, has gotten called for a foul on that double team trap in the backcourt. He's got 2 on him now, still in the first quarter, and that also means Wekiva will now have the bonus. Again, just in case you were on an Antarctic expedition with no internet access all last season and this season, we are using updated foul rules for how we get to bonus on team fouls. That was changed from last year. Made nationwide at the NFHS level. They decided to adopt the rules that are more similar to the NBA and NCAA men's, whereas previously they had been patterned after NCAA women's. So now we go to 2-shot bonus on the 5th foul of the quarter instead of the old way, which was going to 1-and-1 bonus on the 7th foul of the half and then 2-shot on the 10th. So that continues this year. It changes the strategy just slightly. It does kind of make sense, though, since high school games are timed in quarters, unlike NCAA, which used to be timed in halves and I believe still is for women, but is no longer for men. Traffic jam at the key, and Darius Holiday comes up with the steal. First bit of defensive good news all day for Wekiva. Now to the tray, not there for Darian Thomas. And the rebound this time goes to Caden Jean Lewis. He'll air it out for Dees at the other end. Wide open tray, and there it is. 3 for Juju Johnson. And I will thank you for your understanding if the volume level kind of goes a bit up and down in my voice. It is because I am doubling tonight as your play-by-play announcer and also the public address announcer. Foul is called against Mustangs number 4, Juju Johnson, his first, the team's third. Kennedy bringing the ball into the front court. Makes his way down to the baseline and picks up some contact. Foul is called against Mustangs number 0, Darius Holiday, his second personal foul, the team's fourth. Checking into the game for the Mustangs, number 11, Jason Francillin. So interestingly, Coach Lubin will leave Holiday in with 2 fouls. That also puts bonus on the board for Ridge. Be shooting on every foul for the rest of the quarter in both directions. Zach White on the jump shot for Ridge. His first points of the night. Now going the other way, bounce pass. Nothing there in the key. Go back to Johnson. Score it! 3 for Juju Johnson. So, while the Mustangs' first quarter performance has been a bit lackluster overall, Juju Johnson is having a day on senior night. Three for Juju Johnson. Well, scoring correction there. I missed a basket for Ridge earlier. Didn't hit the button hard enough, so that is on there now, and that score is now accurate. 3-point basket scored by Zach White. Johnson trying to take advantage of the fact that he's on fire. Can't get the third consecutive tray to fall. Last 20 seconds of the first quarter. Held ball. Possession Ridge. Three seconds to go here. Ridge waiting for their opportunity. Kennedy lets go just a little bit short, and that takes us to the end of the first quarter. 5-point ball game. Slow start for the Mustangs, but they pull it to within 2 possessions as time expires on the first quarter. 16-11 is your score at our first break here on senior night basketball action from Mustang Arena. Back with more in just a moment. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. The Mustangs have the opening possession of the second quarter. Mark Parchi here with you for senior night basketball action, and it is the penultimate game of the regular season for Wekiva. Three for three, Bryce Dees. Well, the bad news is the Mustangs have had absolutely minimal success with penetration getting to the basket for field goals tonight. The good news is they've gotten 12 of their 14 points from the perimeter, so they seem to be hot from outside, particularly Juju Johnson, and now Bryce Dees getting in on the action as well. And that is what is keeping them in this ball game, is that perimeter shooting. One possession ball game. And sometimes that's all it takes, is just keeping the game within shouting distance, giving yourself the psychological motivation to keep on fighting, not letting the game get too far out of reach. Beautiful block by Eugene Daniels into the waiting arms of his teammate, but then just as good on the other end is Darian Thomas swatting the ball away from the Bolts. And now Ridge will set up the half court once again. Fighting his way to the basket through traffic. Daniels loses the ball to, that's Francillon. Eric Nichols looking for an answer. Gets some help from Thomas. Jason Francillon draws the foul. He'll go to the line and shoot two for the Mustangs. Foul is called against Bolts number 12, Giovanni Laporte. That's his first personal foul, the team's first of this quarter. Correction, that was on the floor. Mustangs will have the ball at the opposing baseline. To Francillon, through traffic, Daniels gets a piece of the ball as he lets go. And now stuffed by Kenny DeJuiced. Tray released and rims out for Bryce Dees. He had the tray to start off the quarter. DeJuiced does a good job of scooping up his own potential turnover. Out to the corner again. Not going to fall for Jason Francillon. And again, the Mustangs seem to have come to terms with the fact that they're not getting to the paint, at least not this half. Perimeter shots not falling on that possession, though. 6 minutes to go here in the second period. And if you take a quick scan up and down the visitor roster, you see a lot of heights in the 6-foot range, up to and including Eugene Daniels, who is listed at a whopping 80 inches. Basket by Tariq Kennedy. That's 6'10", and so it shouldn't come as a great surprise that we've had so many block shots tonight. McCray takes it himself, and it's off the heel. Put back, rattles in. That's Eugene Daniels with the second chance basket. And he is already into double figures, and we're not even halfway through the second quarter. 10 points for him in the books tonight. Little spin move, nearly stripped away by Giovanni Laporte. Man-to-man pressure coming on strong. Laporte, a little bit of contact there. Manages to keep it to one hand, though. Baseline pass, beautifully done. Darian Thomas to Kenny DeJuiced for the score. First points of the night for DeJuiced. And now we will pause for our first timeout of the game. Full timeout requested by Ridge. Back with more from Mustang Arena after a quick break. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, here with you from South Apopka, Florida, where Ridge Community has so far kept a modest but consistent lead over the Mustangs. Tariq Kennedy floats one in from the baseline, and that puts him at 7 points for the night. Basket for the Mustangs. And then taken away again. That's Anderson Efren, who snuck into the game during the timeout if you weren't paying attention. Coming up with the basket and the steal on the ensuing possession. And now a little bit anemic on the tray from Leuven St. Pierre. Tray for Juju Johnson, not quite there this time. Falling away, and we're going to get a contact foul there. Juju Johnson managed to get whacked on the way up. Tariq Kennedy is called on his second personal foul. It's the team's second of this period. Juju Johnson shooting two. So Johnson goes 1 for 2 at the line and cuts us back to a 3-point ball game. Laporte trying to make something quick happen on a little punch move in the key. That's not going to fall. Three for Darian Thomas, who joins the perimeter shooting club along with Bryce Dees and Juju Johnson. And that ties the game at 22. In just a second here, I'm going to glance over at the scorebook. Eugene Daniels picks up 2 for the Bolts. Leuven St. Pierre fouled on the way up. He'll go to the line and shoot 2 for the Mustangs. Foul's called against Kadarius McCray, his first, the team's third. First free throw falls. And as I glance over the scorebook, Wekiva only has 3 baskets tonight that aren't three-pointers. Make it 4. Darian Thomas. Foul is called against Darian Thomas. That's his first personal foul, the team's first of the period. Mustangs pick up the steal, opportunity to extend their lead. DeJuice is rejected the first time and the second time. Darius Holiday can't clean it up either. And now we're going to get a charge. Player control foul is called against number 12, Giovanni Laporte. That's his second personal foul, the team's fourth. Darian Thomas took the charge for the Mustangs and turns the ball over to Wekiva. for the basket for Kenny DeJuiced, and a chance to make it a three-point play. The foul is called against number 30. Zachary White's his third personal foul, the team's fifth. Three-point play does not fall. Basket scored by Zachary White. Juju Johnson from the key. So now finally the Mustangs getting some more conventional points in the books, but really, if you want to know what the difference is, it's your three-pointers. Wekiva's got 5 of them. Ridge has 1. So in spite of the fact that Wekiva is shooting more poorly than Ridge overall, the fact that they have been hot from behind the arc has been the difference maker, and the reason why, despite trailing most of the game, it looks like they are poised to go into halftime with a narrow lead. Of course, 53 seconds is a long time in basketball. Foul is called against number 1, Kamari Coates. That's his first personal foul. Penalty situation. At the line, shooting 2, number 21, Kenny DeJuiced. And he hits the first. 5 points for him tonight. And the second, 2 for 2. Penalty pays off for the Mustangs. They extend their lead to 5. And that might have been a kickball, but it doesn't matter because it goes directly out of bounds off the Mustangs anyway. It was not intentional in that case. It was just an inadvertent off the heel. To the paint. There it is. Juju Johnson on the jump shot. And he's having a day. 14 points as nearly half the Mustangs' offensive production. And a steal by Darius Holiday. Opportunity to cash in. Floater bounces out from Darian Thomas. Traveling. Bolts ball. And that takes us to halftime. It's a 7-point ball game. The Mustangs coming back in a big way despite trailing most of the first half. 5 field goals from behind the arc have put the Mustangs at a 7-point advantage in intermission. 33-26 is your score at halftime here on senior night of season 18. Back with more from Mustang Arena after the break. The Bolts have the opening possession of the third period. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, here with you as we get the second half underway. And again, the story of the game has been the perimeter shooting. 5-1 in favor of Wekiva. And that's how we got to where we are. Now the tray released by the Bolts is not going to get it done. Held ball, possession, Mustangs. So the possession arrow stays with Wekiva for all of about 25 seconds. Juju Johnson having a day on senior night. He is the sole representative of the class of 2025 on the Mustangs men's basketball team, and he has 14 of Wekiva's 33 points. If you're just joining us, Wekiva spent most of the first half in the Bolts' rearview mirror, but never by very much. They were as many as 4 possessions down. Foul called against Eugene Daniels. That's his first, the team's first of this quarter, and that will send Rancillen to the line, shooting 2. And he hits his first. And the second as well. Fouls called against Mustangs number 21, Kenny DeJuice, his first, the team's first this quarter. Still a 7-point lead for the Mustangs, turning into 9 as we get into the first minute and a half here of the third period. Elijah Lewis with the bounce pass into White, and that'll yield dividends. Lewis to White for 2. Cuts the Mustang lead back to 7. Again, this is actually not the last game of the season. Traditionally, senior night is played on the last home game of the regular season. It cannot be done during the postseason because the FHSAA prohibits special events and ceremonies before, during, or after any postseason games. But in this case, the scheduling worked out better for the families and participants of the honoree to do it tonight. So we actually do have one more game to wrap up the season. That's a doubleheader against Cypress Creek tomorrow night. 5:30 JV, 7 o'clock varsity, and that will wrap up the regular season. Then the Mustangs will be at East River on Monday to open up the postseason as they head into the district tournament. 6:01 to go here in the third quarter, and both of these teams losing their offensive mojo in the locker room. Just 2 points scored on each side in the opening 2 minutes of this half. Ridge, for their part, has been doing a pretty outstanding job of protecting the paint. Wekiva has not gotten a lot of high-quality, high-percentage inside shots. Foul called against Mustangs, number 21, Kenny DeJuice. That's his second now, the team's second, and that will send the Bolts to the free throw line. Kamari Coates shooting 2. 2 points for him so far tonight. First one off the heel. For 2 at the line, but the offensive rebound to Zach White, and making it go off of Rancillen's shin will give the Bolts another crack at it as Kenny DeJuice returns to the game. Not a very long absence for him. Goal there was obviously not to rest him, just to give him some coaching. So now the Bolts set up the half-court set. Again, they were very effective in the first half, at least maybe until the last couple of minutes, at protecting the inside, forcing Wekiva to the outside shots, but those outside shots were falling, mostly from Juju Johnson, a little bit from Dees as well. Now the floater will not fall for Kennedy, and this time it is the Mustangs' Leuven St. Pierre coming up with a rebound. He tries to go coast to coast. Ooh, took a step. Didn't get a shot anyway. Kamari Coates doesn't get it on the first time, but does on the second. That's Elijah Lewis with the second chance basket and a chance to make it a three-point play. Foul is called against Mustangs number 4, Juju Johnson, his second personal foul, the team's third of this period. So now the Mustangs' 7-point lead got as high as 9, now has been eroded to 5 and could be 4. And it is. Mustangs still on top, but since halftime, it has been a 5-2 advantage for the Bolts. And now St. Pierre loses his dribble, in trouble. Nobody's calling timeout. Goes all the way to the sideline and finally out of bounds. Juju Johnson is just not able to corral it, and that'll be a turnover. And a delay of game warning is issued to Juju Johnson. Or, well, actually, they didn't say what kind of warning it was. Might have been delay of game, might have just been conduct warning. In any case, though, first one's free. And all the way to the floor, that's Eugene Daniels picking up the rebound and assisting Zach White. 9 points for him, and now a stolen basket. Kamari Coates, everything except converting on the turnover. Foul is called against Mustangs number 25, Eric Nichols, his second personal foul. The team's fourth. The basket by Zach White is good. He's at the line shooting for the three-point play. Holiday into the game for the Mustangs. White shooting one and gets it. So that'll be a go-ahead free throw for the Bolts. They now have Wekiva 10-2 since coming out of the locker rooms. Johnson lowering his shoulder, trying to get into the key. Has to make a desperate pass to Bryce Dees, and that's swatted away by Zach White. 3:54 to go here in the third, and the Mustangs clearly winded since they came out of the locker room. Been a step behind Ridge. And now some illegal contact is called. Foul called against Elijah Lewis. That's his third personal foul, the team's second of this quarter. A long distance two for Darius Holiday. So the referee was standing right there, had a perfect vantage point, and said his foot was on the line. So that will still put the Mustangs on top, but not for very long. Zach White retakes the lead for the Bolts. And now we got some contact, and I think it's going to go against Wekiva. Player control foul is called against Darius Holiday. That's his third personal, the team's fifth. No bonus shots for offensive fouls, but it does turn the ball over to the Bolts. Charge taken by Elijah Lewis. Checking into the game for Lewis is number 2, Kadarius McCray. Pause to get the floor dry. And Ridge goes to work. A lofty pass into Eugene Daniels, who now has scored his number. He's got 14 points for number 14. Extending the lead, and they're using all of that 6'10" frame to pull down the rebound. Tariq Kennedy had it there. I mean, that did everything except go in. Beautiful work down the baseline. Tariq Kennedy is called on his third personal foul, the team's third of this quarter. Mustangs looking for some answers here. Juju Johnson takes a seat for what might be the first time tonight. I don't think I've seen him come out of the game yet. And Wekiva, I don't have full stats in front of me, but just from the eye test, Wekiva just not taking a lot of shots this half. The ball control has been tricky for Wekiva. And now Darian Thomas released an air ball, but there was some contact on the rebound. Hold is called against Tariq Kennedy. That's his fourth personal foul, a team's fourth. Mustangs get some rotation going out to Holiday. Decides not to take the shot himself. Instead, he goes over to Francillon, and now looks like a team control foul. Team control foul is called against Jason Francillon, his first personal foul. Again, no bonus shots for offensive fouls, but it does turn the ball over to the Bolts, and the Mustangs will request a full timeout. A 60-second timeout requested by Wekiva. We'll be back with more from Mustang Arena right after the break. Welcome back to Mustang Arena, home of the Wekiva Mustangs. Two minutes to go here in the third, and Wekiva falling apart a little bit since halftime. Coach Lubin calling the timeout, trying to recalibrate Wekiva, particularly on offense. They have just really struggled to get things going as seamlessly as they did during the first half. Full court man coverage coming on by Ridge. St. Pierre tries to take it to the house himself, doesn't have it. Jason Francillon is fouled on the putback attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot two. The foul is called against Bolts number 20, Dwayne Pinckney, that's his first. Team's fifth. So both teams have bonus for the next 87 seconds. First free throw not quite there for Franson. Second one finds the mark, though. That cuts it down to a 2-point game. Long outlet pass, and there it is. That's Giovanni Laporte in transition. 4-point ball game in favor of the Bolts. All that action taking place since halftime. Wekiva led from, about halfway through the second quarter up until just a minute or two into the third quarter. And now trying to get back on top as St. Pierre is going to feel that in the morning. Foul is called against Kamari Coates. That's his second. The team's remains at 5, and Leuven St. Pierre will shoot 2. Coates called there for the attack on an airborne shooter. And now St. Pierre will have an opportunity to cut the lead to 1 possession. 54.9 seconds to go here in the third quarter. First one finds the mark. DeJuice comes back into the game for Holiday. Second is there as well. So now we are back to a 2-point ball game. Mustangs have at least managed to stop the bleeding. They just need to get back on top, or at least something closer to where they were at halftime. And Kadarius McCray stepped out. Mustangs ball. 46.2 seconds. Mustangs could have the last possession of the half, or excuse me, of the quarter, depending on how they choose to pace it. Of course, at least for this season, the shot clock remains optional in Florida. The rules do exist on the books at the national level, at the NFHS level, and the FHSAA has authorized the use of the shot clock at the host school's discretion. Of course, Wekiva, being a public school in Orange County, is going to follow whatever OCPS decides to do. And so OCPS will make a decision as a county if and when to implement the shot clock. I have heard some credible intelligence that Orange County is looking into the logistics and soliciting bids for making that happen for the next season, the 25-26 season. Jason Francillin has us to the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. It's a new ball game. 42-42 is your score with 8 minutes left to play here on Thursday night basketball action and senior night from Mustang Arena. Back with the conclusion in just a moment. Tomorrow night, we invite you to join us again. While it is senior night, it is actually not the last game of the season. We will host Cypress Creek tomorrow at 5:30 and 7. That'll be broadcast as well. Back to live action here at Mustang Arena. Fourth quarter now officially underway, and Douglas Adams fans rejoice. It's 42-42. Off the backboard, not there. And it looks like we had some contact on the rebound. Foul's called against the Bolts. Number 14, Eugene Daniels. That's a second personal foul. Team's first of this quarter. And that's notable. 2 fouls is still pretty good condition for only having 7.5 minutes left in regulation. And I'm certainly not going to be the first to say the O word, but it is worth noting that personal fouls do not reset at the end of regulation if it comes to that. And I would also keep in mind that 28 of the Bolts' 42 points are vested in Eugene Daniels and Zach White, who have 14 each. 3! Leuven St. Pierre with the go-ahead tray. Kenny DeJuice gets down on the ground, manages to get rid of the steal without traveling. Gets it off to Bryce Dees, who's going to go coast to coast, but not able to withdraw from the bank. Now Kennedy sends it to Zach White, and Zach White is fouled on the way up. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. The foul is called against Darian Thomas. It's his second personal foul, the team's first this quarter. We'll pause to mop up some sweat here. White now, at least for the moment, becomes the sole leading scorer for the Bolts with 15. Juju Johnson back into the game for Wekiva, relieving Leuven St. Pierre. Second attempt is short. Again, more than half of the offensive production for the Bolts vested in Eugene Daniels and Zach White. They have between them 29 out of 43 points. Darian Thomas gets his motion interrupted on the way to the layup. That's not there. Tariq Kennedy trying to do a blind layup through traffic. That doesn't fall either. Francellin got it. Jason Francellin on the Mustang layup. Still anybody's ball game. 4-point lead for the Mustangs, who kind of took the first 6 minutes of the third quarter off. They had 10 minutes for halftime, but apparently they needed another 6. But now they seem to be back in this. Bounce pass. And Darian Thomas got a little bit too aggressive trying to get the steal. Darian Thomas called in his third personal foul, the team's second of this quarter. So again, that's notable. Darian Thomas with 3 fouls for the Mustangs. Tariq Kennedy has 4 for Ridge. So you know he spent some minutes out of the game on the later half of the third quarter. But he is back in for the fourth quarter. Coach taking the chance on him. Traveling Mustangs ball. 5:13 to go in the ball game. Mustangs certainly cannot afford to rest on their laurels here. Deflected out of bounds by Tariq Kennedy. Stays with the Mustangs as we dip under 5 minutes. Again, the Mustangs had a rough start to this season. They're 10-13 now, but they were 4-11 until this last most recent run of 6-2 coming out of the Orlando Metro Conference tournament, which did not go well for the Mustangs. Darian Thomas gets his 7th point of the night. So again, despite the fact that Wekiva is still trying to claw their way back to 500, they are currently on a bit of a hot streak. They're on a 6-2 streak, and at least some of those are quality wins. 69-43 over Jones. 55-29 over International Sports Academy out of Ohio. 60-46 over Vanguard. Beautiful catch. That's Juju Johnson to Bryce Dees. Johnson making it look easy, just floating into the air, defying gravity out of bounds to retrieve that loose ball rebound and put it in a place where Dees could cash in. So now the Mustangs with their largest lead of the second half. They led by 7 at halftime. No, I take that back. They had it up to 9 at one point, very briefly, at the beginning of the third quarter, so almost their biggest lead of the half. And now stolen with nobody in front of him. Zach White just not able to pick it up. He tried to outthink the room, tried to dazzle and maybe go for the dunk or an uncontested layup, but he just didn't slow down enough to actually pick up the ball. Now 3 good looks for the Mustangs, but Kenny DeJuice is just not able to convert. Second chance doesn't fall for Eugene Daniels, who has generally been pretty brilliant tonight, and now we're going to get an injury stoppage. So there was no timeout called as far as I know, but these coaches will take any opportunity they can get to get a little quality time in with their players. Daniels will have to come out. That's a mandatory substitution. Dunk by Jason Francillin. And there the Bolts get penalized for just not being ready to play. The referee was ready to put the ball in play. There was no timeout called, and they did not break the huddle. And so Wekiva was down there ready to score, and there was nobody defending. So that's just 2 freebie points for Francillin. Third chance basket is there for Tariq Kennedy. Three for Jason Francillin. 14 points for him tonight. He now ties Juju Johnson for the lead on the Mustang side. Answered with a tray for the Bolts. That tray was by Elijah Lewis, and now we'll pause for a timeout. The Mustangs requesting a full timeout. Back with the last 2 minutes from Mustang Arena. Welcome back to Mustang Arena, where we are headed into the last 2 minutes, and Wekiva has owned the momentum since we came back from the quarter break, outscoring the Bolts 14-6. Coming out of the tie score, it was 42-42. Bolts coach wanted a palming call there, didn't get it. Johnson rims it out, and that's scooped up by the Bolts. "90 seconds, and Ridge going to have to go faster than that as Elijah Lewis loses his dribble, and it rolls right out of bounds. Mustangs ball. Last 90 seconds. The clock is Wekiva's friend right now. 8-point ball game, essentially call it a 3-possession game. Certainly maybe 4. And especially without a shot clock, Wekiva just needs to play smart here. 3 for Bryce Dees from Juju Johnson. And that couldn't have come at a better time. As we dip under 60 seconds, that puts the game at 11 points. Not statistically out of reach, but that is now a very tall mountain to climb. Basket by Kamari Coates to take it back to a 9-point ball game, and we'll pause for a Ridge community timeout. Full timeout requested by the Bolts. We'll be back with a conclusion in just a moment. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Less than a minute to play here, and Ridge not putting on the full court pressure, so I'm not sure if they've essentially conceded at this point. But they're not going to force Wekiva to the free throw line. They only have 1 foul. They've had kind of foul trouble all game until now, and now is really the time that they could have used to have 5 fouls on the book so they could force Wekiva to the line. Wekiva takes the tray. Not sure that was really necessary. And now I can hear the Bolts bench encouraging Coates to get moving. Trey is wide left for Lewis. That takes us to the end of the ball game, and the Mustangs prevail in the fourth quarter to recover their lead and take a 9-point victory over the Bolts. 59-50 is your final score on senior night, and what a senior night it was for Juju Johnson, who finished with 14, including a lot of heat from behind the arc to co-lead the team with Jason Francillon, who also had 14. We'd like to thank everyone for coming out to support your Mustang and Bolts athletes. We hope that we will see you back here tomorrow night, 5:30 JV, 7 o'clock Varsity, and that will wrap up Season 18. We'll be broadcasting those on YouTube and NFHS Network as well. Those of you here in the arena, please drive carefully and arrive home safely. Those of you watching online, we hope that you will subscribe before you go. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Wekiva Sports, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Good night from Mustang Arena.